All right. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you're able to catch this conversation. My name's Dave Sleep. I'm co-founder of A&A Psychological Accreditation, and today's conversation has been a long time coming. We've been trying to we tried to do this for season 2 and we couldn't get the diaries to line up, but I'm absolutely delighted that we have Michael from Timeless IMS. Mike, I am so delighted that we've been able to get this sessions locked in. How are you, fella?
Very good, Dave. Yeah, just busy working and uh, you, just doing various bits and pieces in the business with my team leaders, but also enjoying life, Dave.
And
That's very
that's one
important.
of the things I love about spending time with you, Mike, is the balance that you have been able to work is phenomenal. And you know, the the benefits of that balance speak for themselves, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you can't balance the age-old saying to live to work, work to live, um, they're true. People, I see people every day. I went to London yesterday, busy time,
Mm,
busy people wandering around. A lot of them not really smiling, being happy. We're all under pressure.
yeah.
We're all working very hard. Um, so I think it's just the internal reflection, Dave, on uh, if are you enjoying what you're doing? Is it paying the bills? Is it not paying the bills? And are you outside of that, outside of all the work? How are you coping with your own personal life and psychologically and everything?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I made a decision about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, to really put a stake in the ground and iron that balance out.
Yeah.
So that
And
I do get to enjoy myself as well as having to work hard, and I
and
enjoy the work as well. So
and that's the thing is your passion, you really do work your passion. And that's something that I've admired since I've known you. And Appa and Timeless have done some bits and pieces together over the last couple of years. And you know, the work that you do to support businesses, not just your clients, but the business community around you, really does stand out. And I know that yourself and Timeless are award winners for that engagement. So congratulations on that. But
um, yeah, I think Dave, we're sorry to interject, but we're multi-award winners. Not that I want to blow my own trumpet, and finalists again this year for several things. So it is fascinating. It is fascinating when last week I got an email from just someone I'm trying to help get his business off the ground, who was astounded about my FSB interview, which is online.
mm,
Um, Obviously, your kind words about the passion comes true. You've got to believe in what you're doing. If you don't believe in it and you're just providing a service in a very binary way, there's no relationship there. There's no passion.
yeah,
Um, so, yeah, it shines on the awards. It shines through testimonials, referrals with your clients, with your suppliers, with your prospects, and people outside of work as well. You have to live it,
yeah.
because if it's fake, or you're just saying the words but not don't really feel the passion, people can see through that, especially in what we do in the business.
And this is where I think that, I mean, for the first time, let's actually highlight what it is Timeless does, because I think a lot of people kind of don't really have an accurate perception of what passion and the topic and the sector you work in go together, do they?
No, if I was doing an elevator pitch, um, it's pretty tough. Because how do you describe building personal relationships in 60 seconds? And it's for a tech company. It's a tech company which is digital. So typically your technical support team or your technical solutions team sit behind a computer, and drive off emails or Teams or and such like. I think as a company, Timeless is a technology provider, a community player, supports the local businesses, mentors people, with or without technology. Technology is very important in business today. We're on a Zoom call now. Technology there
Yeah.
that blossomed through the pandemic. Technology took a real boost, if you like, to people using it during the pandemic because we were forced to, in this country especially. But I think in general, Timeless is there as someone who collaborates with its clients and partners to provide technology solutions.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Well, it's a whole life cycle of technology. Part of that process, we have to understand what the client's needs are and expectations. We have to really get across to the client about our collaboration piece. We're here to collaborate with you. We're here to work with you. We will be calling you up, asking you how things are going. We will crave testimonials. We will crave you spreading the word about what service levels we work towards and what we aim and strive for. So, you know, that in the technology space, we have 4 different areas that we work in, but we really do spend time trying to work with our clients and collaborate. That's most important, and it's got to be bi-directional, which is really important.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I actually love spending time with you guys, because just as APA is focused on collaboration and that belief in that partnership, you guys do the same. And for most of the people working in the mental health field, if they're not working in a clinical setting in an establishment, then they're working solo, and they're kind of dependent on their own knowledge of technology and their own understanding of the devices that they've got. And some people are absolutely phenomenal. They know absolutely everything that they need for what they've got. And others are simply not that savvy because they don't have that time to learn those devices. They're simply there to do the job that they want to do. And that's where we see an awful lot of tech issues come up for those professionals, because there isn't that knowledge in the mental health world about how tech operates and some of the risks that they face. But you guys have all of that and really want to kind of get across that having that collaboration makes life easier and reduces some of the pressure points. I know we've spoken previously about pressure points that businesses feel and the individuals within those businesses feel, but having the kind of backup in your corner for that tech is phenomenal. It has a massive impact, doesn't it?
Yeah, technology is fantastic, right? And having the tools at your fingertips is really important. Making sure it all works properly, making sure you're secure, making sure you're getting the return on investment or the best use of that technology is most important. And a lot of people don't do that. They tick boxes with tech and I've got this now, so I'm going to use it. And coming back to your point about people's mental health and how they work, you know, in this country, I haven't got the stats, but you've got home workers, you've got people that work from home, either in a hybrid model or full time. You've got people that, when they're working from home, are working from a kitchen table, or they've got an office down the end of the garden. I was speaking to somebody 2 days ago, and I said, well, you know, and he was off the cuff making a comment. His working day is getting out of bed, having some breakfast, and going down the end of the garden, working, coming back, because he's a digital guy. He does a lot of social media stuff, so he isn't going out at all, really. He does his day, he comes back into the house for his evening. Now that whole mental capability around that, it must be incredible, because you are, if you like, in isolation.
Yeah.
You're not communicating with comrades. You're not working in an environment that stimulates your mental health. You've got to be pretty strong.
Yeah.
And if it's not a solopreneur and it's just a home worker in itself, I used to 4 years ago go into the office and work with my colleagues. Now I just work from home 4 days a week. I might go into the office 1 day a week, and I'm having back-to-back meetings. There's not really much time to have those relationships that I used to have 4 or 5 years ago. And that's a mental shift. And that's a challenge. It's the people in the office now, office workers, where they are. You've got different outlets from employers, downsizing, reducing costs, flexible working. Technology plays a huge part in all of that. If people are working purely from their laptop and you have to leave your laptop somewhere else, you're pretty much lost. Or as more and more of us now use our mobile phones in a more and laptops and tablets and so on in certain ways, your dependence on technology is really, really important.
Yeah.
And very worried about, am I doing the right thing? Is it really working? I've got this app to use now. I'm using Teams or Zoom. I've got extra security on my device, or whatever it happens to be. I'm fighting an email war because you're dying in the email challenge.
Yeah.
What is it that you're trying to do? And sometimes it's good just to step back and take a moment and have a look at the tech that you're using, going, is this working right for me? Am I getting the most from it? Am I enjoying using the tech that I have? It's a real big question.
And these are things that, when we think about the professionals that are focused on the mental health of those people that are caught up in that, the same challenge, they're still human beings that are still caught up in the same tech challenges that often their clients are facing. And this is where I think having a company that does what Timeless does so exceptionally well as part of that collaboration team around that professional makes so much difference. And I've advocated for tech support to be part of that team for as long as I can remember, in all of the coaching work that I've done. But you guys see it at the sharp end. What are some of the challenges that you guys see people facing?
Sorry, Dave.
You mentioned kind of the 4 areas that you guys focus on, but what are the challenges that you see happening out
there? So challenges are, before I go into the challenges, you mentioned something which I just want to say before I forget about it. You talk about the human perception of what we are now. Technology moves forward every single day. Every single day something is changing. Someone's developed something new. We're doing something easier. As human beings, are we advancing at that rate? For those of you listening, look at your children. Look at what they can do with technology versus what we can do with technology, and the leaps and bounds that they go through as they're progressing from pre-teenagers to teenagers and then into the working world, and how they have adapted, if you like, and accelerated their own humanness to cope with technology. Last year, or this year, if you like, the AI engine of ChatGPT comes to the world, and everybody's like, wow, I can do so many more things so quickly now. It's almost like Google on steroids, if you like. And then we move on. So that's that piece. Then we move on to the challenges that people face today. Some people embrace that AI and the ChatGPT world in business, and they use it to write articles or to ask questions or to relieve some of the stress of their mental burden when they're trying to do things. Is it right? Who owns the copyright? People are asking all sorts of questions when they step back and look at how great this thing is and what's the next phase of using such technology. Is it right for my business? If I'm a copywriter, can I put the pen and paper down now and just put it all into ChatGPT, for example, and get what I want and make a living that way? And the humanness has to come into it as well, because you're typing the question in, or you're speaking the question, if you like. So you're having to articulate what you want to say into the digital world.
Mm.
And there are lots of arguments, which I won't get into, in terms of the humanness of all of that and the mental state that we find ourselves in. I think using technology, especially for us, one of the services that we provide is internet services. And, you know, our advice to our clients is don't skimp on your internet, because everything runs off the internet these days. And if you don't have it, you can't transact, you can't do your email, you can't do your accounts, you can't log into your CRM, you can't use any manufacturing tools, you can't do anything really.
Yeah.
You are lost.
Just on that point, with one broadcast company, if you haven't got your internet, you can't watch TV.
Correct. So I think, you know, as part of our life cycle of technology with customers, it's just it's obvious, if you like, but it's not obvious, because you're running your business. You might be selling soap. The internet's not important for you, but all your machines probably work off the internet in your manufacturing space, your orders, fulfillment, your deliveries, your tracking. It's all there. And people need to understand it's an integral part of your business, and understanding that technology is not just ticking a box. I've got internet, thanks very much. Where's the resilience? Where's the backup? What happens if this happens? If the internet's down, what can my staff do? What's their morale like when they can't do their work? They're under pressure as it is. I was at, and the story there is, I was at Lotus Cars last month in their factory for a tour, and they produce a vehicle every 22 seconds.
Wow.
You have a whole team of people working in a manufacturing facility, working on a 22-second breakdown. And that's a small manufacturer. Apparently, the larger scale manufacturers have even shorter time. Wow. So it's almost, and they were talking psychologically about, if there are defects on a vehicle, move it to one side, don't stop the production line, because 22 seconds is 22 seconds. And you just think of a completely different world as to how technology is working in that environment, and how we must think as human beings in order to deliver what we need to deliver as part of that. So, you know, internet, Wi-Fi, as part of our journey, and you know, dare I say it, one of the things that we talk about quite a lot is security. Everybody's talking about security, and they have done for many years. Being hacked, bank accounts, orders that aren't legitimate, or whatever it happens to be. And just making sure your data, the information that you hold as part of your business, is not compromised. Because if it is, you've got a problem. So we talk about technology in that space as well, and we call it the layers of an onion. You know, how many layers have you got? Is it working? Do you understand? Or do you not understand, but you want a guarantee, or you want some sort of element of security around your security of data? So you just have to educate and talk to people, and communication is quite, it's hugely powerful. When we're talking, when I'm talking to customers and suppliers, and we've had many conversations, you've got to dive into that whole comms world of, what does it actually mean? Step back a bit and understand what's the actual goal here, rather than work in a very fast and digital way and not really understand what's going on behind you.
And security for mental health practitioners is something that is very largely kind of almost not spoken about, simply because the focus is providing that one-to-one interaction with a client. But security of all of that information, whether that's written down information, whether that's their diary that's got those appointments in it, you know, an insurance company would love to know your client list.
Correct.
You know, and these are the kind of things that, when we're looking at the infrastructure of a counseling business, for example, the internet, as you say, the protections around those devices and all of the information that's there is so critical that to overlook it simply because, oh, I've got the website up now, I've got my internet provider for my home, which is where, you know, a lot of these people are working from. That will do the job, but will it give you the protections that you need for the work that you're doing? Or
Yeah,
will it give you the protections for your kids playing on a whole heap of games and watching TV? You know,
yeah, totally agree, Dave. I mean, just an insight, you know, off the cuff of me talking to you about mental health practitioners and so on who work from home. You're recording probably your prospects and clients. You're having very sensitive conversations.
mhm,
You're in your home environment, so it may not be as secure as you as being in an office because you've got residential and commercial in the same space. The security side of it, sharing that information with other practitioners or insurance companies, and how you share some of this information and your reports, and potentially using AI a little bit to really delve into the psychological effects of what you just listened to. You know, where's all this information stored? Is it secure? How are you making sure that it stays protected and that you have, if you share it with other people, that they're time limited? That's a lot of things to think about for technology when you're working from a home environment, probably on your own.
yeah,
Your interest and your skill set is around really connecting with your clients and understanding what their challenges are, and trying to support them in whatever needs they are. That's the focus. But
mm,
there is a whole raft of technology available today that you need to obviously be aware of. I think that, so that's a little bit of an insight into where we would look at that and go, yeah, okay, we don't really understand the psychological side of it. That's what you guys do, but here are some things that you guys need to think about.
yeah,
Um, and you can use that in any business with technology, because the strength of what you do in your vertical, or what you're doing in the business, is what you do. It's your skill set.
mm,
It's not necessarily the technology skill set as well.
yeah. And this is where kind of that collaboration really comes into its own. And having a team like Timeless, and having seen the way you guys operate, having seen that collaboration in action, I think is a phenomenal asset to for any practitioner that's out there to kind of accept and acknowledge what their own limitations are, but also to hand over that awareness to somebody else who can fill the gap that puts that protection in place. And you know, you mentioned earlier that, you know, a big focus for you guys is that people connection and working with the client and building that relationship. What would you say is kind of the biggest asset that that gives you guys?
Um, we are a people-based business, even though we're in tech. It's in our DNA, if you like. Um, examples of what we do is, if we were constantly calling our customers up, regularly saying, is everything all right? Do you need any support on anything? If we do anything for them, we call them up, was the service okay for you? Because it's in our, as I said, it's in our DNA. Clients do not call us up out of the blue and say, do you know what, today my tech is working beautifully. They just don't do that. The expectations are, it's got to work, and it's got to work all the time.
Mm,
If my hard drive fails on my laptop, or I've lost it, or my emails have suddenly stopped working, or my internet suddenly down, it's all hands to the pump.
yeah,
We need to, if in certain environments, we need to just make sure that we get back up and running as quickly as possible to just get on with our business. So as a company, as part of that DNA within us, we're just trying to work so closely with our clients,
mm,
supporting them with their technology services and infrastructure on a regular basis, good or bad. It could be downsizing, it could be upsizing, it could be buying another company, it could be collaborating with somebody else because it works for the business, but actually technology would could give challenges in that respect. So you have to have that psychological link, if you like, between yourselves and the customer to really understand what it is that they are doing, how technology can work with them, and the benefits of it.
Yeah. And I think for all businesses, when you've got that support team in place, it takes the pressure off. And just as a mental health practitioner will go through a whole heap of kind of qualifying and getting to know the ins and outs with a client and build that relationship, you guys are doing exactly the same with your clients. And it's that kind of starting point. If you get it right, you don't have to make it right, and you can build from the right place within that kind of trust and that understanding and the belief that everything that that relationship is building is for the benefit of the client. And that's exactly what happens in the therapeutic arena. You building the trust, building the joint understanding, building the belief that the path in front of somebody is the best path to walk on. And you guys do the same. And I think it is phenomenal to be able to have a tech company that does that. It works that way because it's people based first.
Yeah, as you know, in the profession, in your profession, in this profession, and it's critical. If you haven't got the trust of your client, the services can't, they're not going to open up to you. You can't support them. You can't care for them. And it's the same thing with us. If the client is got to call this company again, timeless, they're not really proactive, they're not engaging, I'm going to have to explain myself. I view that as we're hindering them, we're not supporting them because they're having to go through a lot of effort to talk to us. Some people would look at that and go, well, I'll raise a support ticket. How efficiently that ticket gets closed is great. If I close it within 60 seconds, fantastic company because they closed it really quickly. Actually, why did that problem happen in the first place? You shouldn't be calling us up. We don't measure our help desk on how many calls we get. We measure it on how many calls we don't get because we're not in the business of trying to fix things as quickly as possible in a reactive way because we want to prevent those like anybody was. And psychologically with the team, if you are not having to constantly do 100 reactive calls a day, your psychological demeanor is much more powerful because you're more positive. And we have staff meetings, weekly meetings where people are engaging and telling us, and we're talking about what are we doing in business. Let's talk about a particular client. What have we learned from this? What happened to them in the last week? Do we see some warning signs on the radar that we need to either get the account manager to talk to them, or we need to, put some things in place to try and prevent it with technology. So, that's part of the process.
Yeah, and this is what I really love, is that it's advanced planning. And it's being open to the fact that there can be trouble on the horizon that we can avoid because we spot it on the horizon and move the operating practice, the protocols, whatever it might be. We can actually put things in place that trouble stays over there and we're heading over there. And that's something that I think you guys have got down to an absolute T. And whether you're supporting an individual, whether you're supporting a small and medium business, or whether you're supporting a large business, those principles and that mindset kind of really do stand out in a world that is quite often very reactive to the problems already happened.
Psychologically, it just works better for everybody if you're heading things off at the pass. And technology is not always the answer, right? It could be policies and processes. It could be a member of the internal team, like the company's, our client's team, who's having a really tough time. And no one can see it because everyone's got their head down doing their work. but we can see it from a technology point of view because, I don't know, the emails are being transmitted at 3 a.m. in the morning every single day, Saturday and Sunday included. That's not a healthy environment. You know, we have to, is the workload that much that they're having to do that, or can they not sleep at night? Because, you know, a lot of people are mentally challenged outside of work in what they're doing, um, because they're so stressed or worried or whatever it happens to be. And technology is there as a tool. That's why social media is what it is. It's why you know, people go out and they're socializing a lot, but they've obviously got monetary concerns as well. So, you know, it's a balance, and it's how you, as you said right at the beginning, you know, how I balance what I do. It's a balance to say, well, you know, this is the way that we live our lives, and part of that in business is using the technology to support you and working with a company that understands the technology, understands your business, and says, well, you know, this technology can help here, or technology can be a collaborator here, or technology can guide you, but not really get involved because this is more mental health and well-being, or policies, or there's a procedure that's not in place, nobody really understands, or staff morale is very low, or whatever it happens to be. There isn't really a technical solution for staff morale. You know, that's something that's part of the humanness.
But the tech and the use of the tech can be a massive identifier of other areas. Like you say, if someone is kind of emailing at 3 o'clock in the morning, yes, I've been guilty. Then, you know, these are things that if you're the person that's in that situation, it's very hard to see that that's a red flag. Whereas having that independent overwatch, if you like, that can identify that, and certainly in companies where you have got home working, having that overwatch and that foresight to be able to identify those flags can make all of the difference in heading those challenges off at the pass.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Completely agree that it's there as an enabler, a collaborator. But again, you need to have a business or a like-minded person working alongside you who's going to work in an agile way to craft what you're doing and make sure it works with you, and consistently do that. We call it the client journey because our clients want quite a long-term journey with us, and it's one of those ones where we're traveling down the same road as them. So using the whole visual elements of, you know, this is what we're doing alongside you. Yes, we work in tech, you work in mental health, and in the middle of this road is the path that we need to follow. Let's make it a frictionless experience, and enjoy it, because there's no point walking down that road if you don't.
And the thing is, any journey is better spent with the right people around you. And, you know, whether that's, you know, certainly for mental health professionals, that's your supervisor, that's your insurance provider, that's your tech provider, that's your voluntary support platform, that all of these components that build up the infrastructure of their business are the right people to be on that journey with, makes that journey, as you say, as frictionless as possible, because the clients bring the friction. You know, that's always going to be the way. The friction should never be from the team that's supporting that individual.
And you've also got to take into account energy. You know, I was talking to somebody yesterday about the energy. In our business, taking on the wrong client, how much energy are we expending just to take this client on? It's really important in any business. Does that client fit with my business model? Are we aligned? Because I don't want to waste my energy trying to convince a prospect that we're right for them. They probably don't want to waste their energies as well. and energy is not infinite.
Yeah.
In terms of what you're doing, we have to expend a lot of effort with that energy, and it's just making sure that you're using it for good and not for bad.
Yeah, and that's the same with mental health professionals and clients, is making sure that you're the right professional for that
Yeah.
client, and having the network around you to be able to guide that client in the right direction for them, because somewhere in the future you may be the right professional for them, and if they know that you've done that support work right at the very beginning, invariably, yeah, I know. Yeah, you've told me this before. How many times does a client come back and go, "Now I know what I know. Now I could, yeah, I'm in a better place to be able to work with what you guys do." And that's the same with mental health professionals. You get it right at the beginning. You don't have to make it right later.
And it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, don't go down that journey. Don't go down that road, because the energy you'll expend is ridiculous. And technology, no matter how great it is, if it's not aligned with what you're trying to do, it won't work. You'll just invest a load of money and not get what you need to do. And I've seen it before with other clients and other businesses, and I've watched them follow these routes. And there are obviously reasons why they follow that. Could be money, could be relationship with whoever. It could be they've been sold the golden egg, if you like. Technology has to be used correctly for the application that you want for it to be successful. Otherwise, you're going to end up spending a lot of negative energy saying, "That's not working for me. It's not working. I've got this stuff. It's not working." And I've got no one to talk to because my supplier is reactive and just very analog, and or it's just very binary, I'll call it, and they're just not really engaging. They don't understand my business. I see it quite a bit of that, which is challenging, but ultimately the clients need to fully accept and appreciate where they are in their journey, and if it doesn't align, then thanks very much, but come back when you're ready.
Yeah, and this is this is another reason why I think the knowledge and understanding to have that confidence in what you do is exactly the same as for the mental health professional, to have that confidence to go, "This is what I can do. If this is going to work, then let's work. If it's not going to work because one party isn't ready, then having that confidence to say this needs to go somewhere else makes all the difference." And it's the well-being for both parties that you're in essence safeguarding. You're safeguarding your business because you're not taking on a client that is ultimately not going to work, that you're ultimately then going to have to resolve it not working, and the client isn't getting a bad experience as they would see it because the situation isn't working. And it's that understanding, that trust, understanding, and belief right at the very beginning that really does make the difference. And one of the things that we've seen in the mental health sector is, the vast majority of professionals use a mobile phone as their point of contact. And when they're with a client, that mobile phone is turned off and people are asked to leave a message. Well, I don't know about you, Mike, but if I'm asked to leave a message, I very rarely do. It's got to be really important for me to leave a message. But I will just ring somebody else, and I will keep ringing until somebody answers the phone. And this is something that I think it's not isolated to the mental health arena, is it?
No, that topic, I've done it several times yesterday. I didn't leave a voice message because it was a pointless. And technology is quite interesting if you're talking about making telephone calls and leaving voicemails. The younger generation leave voice notes. They don't even call anybody. They just pick up their phone, record a message, and send it. and you see a lot of people with phones to their ears walking down the road because they're listening to their messages. At the instant on demand, everybody's so instant these days. And your point is exactly right. I don't want to wait. I want something now. And we have crafted a whole revolution in technology around the instant on demand. Social media is very relevant to that. You know, the 3-second attention span where you're flicking left and right. Within 3 seconds, if someone hasn't got your attention, it's just like, wow. In business is the same. You really want things to be on demand. And then you reflect back on us as human beings. Can we really support and deliver a solution within 3 seconds or 5 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever it happens to be? You can't. It's not physically possible for us to do that. Therefore, the client and yourself are in a negative state straight away because you can't deliver the solution that quickly. It doesn't work. You have to understand the problem. You have to raise a ticket. You have to investigate. You have to troubleshoot, and the clock's ticking all the time. So you do find that if that's what your expectations are from technology, that you want a 3 seconds response, spend a ton of money up front, make sure you never have to be in that situation. That's the end goal, because then if you're not going to be disappointed. If that's your expectation and how you want technology to work for you. It is quite a dynamic, and it's only getting faster as technology is being used more and more. And as I said, the AI model that is out there today. I've got a problem. I'm just going to go there. I'll get an answer within 30 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it happens to be. As fast as I can do it, I'll get an answer.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the expectation.
Yeah. And you know, just on the AI challenge, and as you say, you know, you want something, you put it in, you've got an answer. It's part of the reason why production companies and writers guilds in the States are on strike, because talent is now, you know, anybody can go, I want a screenplay for X, and these are the characters, everything else, and in 10 seconds you've got a screenplay. And someone goes up to a production company and goes, yeah, I've got a screenplay. No, you haven't got a screenplay. AI has got a screenplay. And the people that are talented and know their stuff are kind of out of that mix. But this is where I think that, you know, going back to the phone call, you know, leaving messages, etc., breaking that cycle is what, when someone is reaching out for support, is the call is answered. And when the moment the call is answered, once there is a person there to say, I hear you, they stop ringing. It's a bit like when you find when you've lost your keys, you don't carry on looking for them after someone says, there they are.
Yeah.
Right. And this is where I think, you know, in its simplest form, as a first point of contact, we've got to get that point of contact met as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And this is where all of that relationship build starts from. And if we can get that bit right, then, you know, we're onto a winner. And you know, we're seeing more and more companies kind of reverting back to direct contact rather than call center contact. And we're seeing, you know, things like that are starting to kind of wake up in the world, which is all obviously putting more pressure on the tech to kind of do the switchback.
Yeah, I mean, as human beings, we're demanding more. We're demanding more services to be more easier to use, faster. The world of banking, for example, is a great example where the high street banks are disappearing. It's a shame, but they're disappearing because we can do it all from a mobile phone now and not even talk to anybody. We don't change. Cashless society is one of those things as well, where it's all digital now. It's all on your card or your phone or your watch, or whatever the next greatest invention will be. where you're paying for something instantly, and you can see. I'm amazed that I will buy something and I'll just put my phone on the card machine, and within 3 seconds I get an alert on my phone saying you just paid for this on here. Um, you go back 5 years, that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And we just take it for granted as human beings. And when you look at that in everyday life of a subliminal, if that's what's happening to us down the pub or wherever it happens to be, or buying a sandwich, in business, well, our expectations are the same. You know, it's that whole instant, just let me get on and do what I need to do. You know, writing an email and not replying to it within a day or two. You know, we talk about emails and the way emails work. Paying for a service, or corresponding with somebody, or having the minutes of a meeting almost delivered to you as soon as you've ended the call, because it's AI can do that. You know, it takes all the notes and it formats them into a nice format and it sends them to you, so it's all done. And our expectations as human beings in the world that we live in business and in outside of business, is that whole on-demand, high-end, instant gratification for what we're doing. And that's obviously making us busy. It's making us busier, which is putting a lot of stress on us to continually work and to progress and deliver things in a particular timeline. And that's the way we're going to be for years to come. We're just going to accelerate.
Yeah. And that's very isolating. Yeah. It's very disconnecting. And when we end up having direct interactions, invariably they don't go as smoothly because we're not used to that slower interaction, and therefore it doesn't really kind of fit with what the majority of our time is like, and we end up with a lot more conflict, interpersonal conflict, because we're not able to communicate as human to human, because we don't do it at the same speed as everything else.
And the brain, you know, the most powerful thing that exists today is our minds, and it goes at the speed that we want it to go at. And as we do more, it's processing faster, we're reflecting more, we're understanding what we're doing, or we're just following a process and just doing it. Getting irritated if things don't happen when they need to. Over the last couple of weeks, it's public transport, you know, not being available, having to queue, having to wait, or not being able to see when the next bus or train is, or whatever it happens to be. The just-in-time approach, where you're getting that last train home and you're waiting till the last minute to get onto it, because you can see it off your phone. You know when it's coming, and you can arrive just in time to do it. This whole model that we've fabricated for ourselves with technology is fascinating. But again, as I said, we need to reflect on, are we doing the right things? Is it working the right way? Is it good for what we're doing in our mindset in terms of social and business?
Yeah. And I think, as you say, this is a time of real reflection. The pandemic really did jumpstart an awful lot of what was already in the pipeline for tech, and brought a lot of things forward very, very quickly. It did an awful lot in the world of mental health, because of the challenges of isolation, the challenges of grief, etc. And it wasn't just the grief around life, but also grief around the loss of employment, the loss of kind of the plans that were in place that could no longer be delivered, the grief of those structures that we've had confidence in that fell apart because of the pandemic and everything that was involved in it. So we're now kind of coming to kind of new ground for so many people. Tech has an amazing part to play in that, and the mental health arena has really got an opportunity to step up and kind of go, we've got to be able to support that change and the impacts of that change, but we've got to do it in a way that's, for now, not based on what we were doing 3 years ago, because it was struggling 3 years ago. It's not going to catch up if we're not moving forward ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, in mental health, it's embracing the challenges that technology is bringing with the mindset, as we live in this world, this ever increasing, fast moving world. And as you're right, you know, the practices that we used 3 years, 1 year ago, and you know, the mind is a very complex thing. As I said, you know, it's probably the most complicated thing on this planet. To understand it is an art. To work with it and to really use that, or get to grips with it in the situation that your clients and prospects are talking to you about. You know, the challenges are vast. Technology can help. Obviously, it's there. It could be an enabler. It could be a hinderer for what's going on in that person's mind. And then within the business itself, within the industry, the technology that you use to record and understand and diagnose and recommend or refer, whatever it happens to be, it's all got to be fit for purpose. It's all got to be used in the right way. Very challenging, very challenging.
Well, I think you and I could look at all of those challenges and kind of piece bridges for all of it, and I know we could. But I want to say a massive thank you for your time. For anybody that's out there that is wanting to get to grips with the tech that they have, the devices that they have, and we haven't even talked about things like apps and all of those kind of connotations. But what how do they get hold of Timeless so that they can have that conversation with you guys and get that support around their own understanding of tech and what they're using?
Thanks, Dave. So yeah, as Dave has mentioned, Timeless IMS. We have a website, timelessims.co.uk. We're pretty high profile on all social media. You'll see us on all the social media platforms, where we are putting articles out on a regular basis. Find us on LinkedIn as well as Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and so on. There's some really fascinating business heads together sessions that we did from the pandemic onwards. So go and have a look at those. Drop us an email. My email address, mopr@timelessims.co.uk, and you'll find other contact details on our website, or pick up the phone. You know, it's good to talk. We've been talking about it here. Don't hide behind the email. Don't hide behind all the social media. If you want to talk, just pick up the phone and call us.
And that's one of the reasons that I think you guys do so well, is because it is a case of pick up the phone, have a conversation, get to know what the details are, and build the package that works for the client, no matter how big or small that conversation needs to be. You guys can cater to that, and I think that's a phenomenal place to be. So Mike, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing so much and being the amazing kind of collaborator that you are for so many. And I look forward to kind of building that collaboration with APA and really building that tech and mental health support moving forward. And
Always
I think
a pleasure to talk to you, Dave.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I absolutely love it. I really do. So if you guys out there have gained anything that supports you and what you do, you can get a CPD recognition for this session. Just download the CPD questionnaire from APA's website, get that back to us to get that recognition. and that will go to, for all of those professionals out there that have to register CPD, that will go towards your CPD hours for the year. But APA is not going to give out CPD without that validation. You have to let us know what you've gained from it. So hopefully we will see you next time in another conversation with, and Mike, again, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. We will see everyone else really, really soon.
See you soon. Thanks, Dave.